by the way, I've never been more icked and gutted by what Maul did.
Oh my God,
I was like, oh my, this like overtook him
SOB.
blinding Kanan, which says a lot. When he blinded Kanan, I think the whole world was like, oh. But this was just awful. I had, for the rest of the episode, I had a sick feeling in my stomach that I was just like, this is not gonna settle. I'm gonna need to go to Burger King for that Mando bounty bundle to settle it down.
not me, bro.
Not an ad. But I was
through the opposite.
I was so sick. I was like, dude, that was awful. Just when you gain enough of Maul's trust a little bit, I just felt like Ezra, where I just felt so betrayed. I was like, dude, that was awful.
I want to talk about what Mike just touched on there, because that was the moment in the episode that really turned the way I felt, where I was having such a great time rooting for Maul, rooting for these characters. It was just the coolest team up ever, you know what I mean? And seeing the way that our good guys and our bad guys were interacting, and the clash of their ideologies, but they were still teaming up regardless.
Together.
It was just so cool to see. And then I actually still don't know how I feel about them doing this on multiple levels. I've kind of written out a pros and cons list almost. On the more pro side, like the reason I like this is I'm like, okay, this just shows like classic Maul giving into his fear. He doesn't know any better. This is just, he's going to repeat the same cycle over and over again because he's just living in the dark side. This is what he does. He can only think about himself. And they're sort of teaching us that lesson in a way. And like, he's never going to change. But if he had on the other side, if he the times when they were the best position fighting Vader was when they were working together, and they were actually doing a good job. Darky got a few hits in, and I'm not saying they would have won that fight, but they would have come a lot closer than Maul choosing what he did. So I thought that was like that's on the plus. I'm like, okay, I like what they're saying there. But then on the other side, it's like I said, I was just loving rooting for them so much. And now it's like, okay, it's just impossible to root for Maul anymore. Like Mike said, I was just shattered when he did that. Because I was like, he's just ruined it. Like, not that it was justified in any of the horrible things he did in Clone Wars or anything like that. But it's like, okay, I was still rooting for him regardless, because he was like almost the lesser of two evils in that sense. He's still evil as, don't get me wrong. But in that moment, he was the lesser of two evils, defending the Jedi, all that sort of stuff. And then the other thing that I kind of feel a certain way about is like, is Devin just going to be like operating under false pretenses for the entire next season? Like, I kind of wish we saw, okay, anyone can turn to the dark side. It didn't need to be manipulated. You know what I mean? She could have just fallen, like Darky could have died anyway, and she would have fallen anyway. Maul didn't need to manipulate. I would have preferred that lesson where it's like anyone can fall to the dark side, even with good intentions. So I'm kind of frustrated that the whole next season, I don't think they're going to address it for ages, that Maul pushed Darky into Vader. So I don't know, boys, what are your thoughts on all that?
I got a ton of thoughts if I can go first, Mike.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think here. Let me pick on the last thing you just said about Devin and the dark side. I mean, the thing is though, I mean, there's not many dark side users in Star Wars who got there without being manipulated. And I think that's the key thing. If you really consciously thought about the pros and cons of, borrow what you were saying there, of the ideology itself, the ideology of the dark side, I think any logical person with like a good support system would go, oh yeah, this system's full of holes. Like it's self-serving, but it pushes out everyone around you over time if you really game it out. The only way it could ever appeal to you is if you learn to, if you're tricked into it, and then learn to embrace it through selfish means. And once you're in, once you got your first fix, you're hooked. And I think that's the key thing here. And that's what Maul's been kind of struggling with this entire season. He's been slowly opening Devin up to it, sure, but all the while he was never going to be able to do it unless he could compel her in that way, obviously with a death about someone she cares about,
But you're telling me, like, if Maul and Darky were fighting Vader happens to kill Darky, it would have been the same result, right? Like, Maul didn't need to step in.
Yes. No, that's correct. But up to that moment, Maul was fighting with Darky. So no matter what, Maul would have had to remove himself from the situation. And no matter what his reason for doing that would have been, well, yes, what you're saying is correct. But, what I'm trying to say is no matter how Maul removes himself from that fight, it is manipulating Devin, no matter what, by leaving Daki to fight for himself.
You're right in saying as well, after it, like the real manipulation is going to come afterwards, where it's like, instead of being like, let's process this, it's going to be like, let's get revenge. You know what I mean? And so,
I mean, what you guys are saying then about just the ick, that gut feeling of like, that was awful, I think just proves that we read it as manipulation, that we're just like that was so unfair, so undirty. And that leads the second thing here that I want to pick on from what you said, which was I don't know how I could root for Maul again. I strongly believe we're going to find ourselves rooting for him down the road, only because we have been down this before, you know, time and time again. And this is the brilliance of the writing of this show and just the Maul character and the way they've done it over the entire Star Wars animation project, is that he has a silver tongue, such a sharp silver tongue that is so able to persuade not just the characters in the show, but the audience. And there are times where you root for him and you kind of believe him. And in this show, we know where it all ends up for him. We know how many people he's tricked, killed. I mean, this guy destroyed the Mandalorian civilization. Like, it was already on the brink of collapse, but he went, oops, all right, I've screwed over your culture for the next 3 decades. You know, like, he's an awful person. Yet we still find ourselves rooting for him. And I think that's what, like, that is something that's interesting to think about. I thought this show really did a great job of exploring why that is, how that is, the ambiguity of his motives, that he is awful, he's evil, he's selfish deep down. Yet when you really take a grand step back, like, what he wants to do would be a net good for the galaxy. If you remove Sidious, it's great. So Maul really is just like an exploration, an extreme exploration of the ends justify the means. And so what we're really going on in the show, the journey we're going on as an audience, is going like, when do I draw the line? For when can I stop justifying the means? You know, so I think that was a great thing that they had to do in the show. I don't think they could have ended the season with us still completely rooting for him, but I can't wait to see him get back to that, because ultimately I kind of support what Maul's doing. If I can go on one more mini tangent here. I know I've had the talking stick for a while, so I apologize. But one of my favorite books I've ever read is The Count of Monte Cristo, which it's a revenge novel about this guy who's, you know, framed, put in jail, but then gets out and basically builds this fortune for himself, this mini empire, essentially, all to take this one guy down. And I think what they're doing with Maul here, I mean, we know this from the backstory of the years of like Solo, you know, he rules the criminal empire and stuff. But what we're really doing here, I love the way we reframed it as Maul is building a criminal empire to take down Sidious. And I think that is so awesome and cool. And obviously, I don't love the person running it, but it's like, he's better than Sidious. And that's just a fascinating place to put us as an audience rooting for Star Wars characters. So yeah,
absolutely. Mike, give us your thoughts on all that was just discussed.
Yeah, I agree. No, I don't know. I feel like I'm with Ari here in terms of being conflicted, because I feel like the part of me not being immediately satisfied with the finale was that it felt like we were being set up, that we knew that Mr. Dooku Daki was gonna die somehow through either the Inquisitors, but then it was like very evident where it's like, oh, you know what, the Inquisitors couldn't get it done, it's gonna be Vader, and that's gonna even push the envelope more, where Maul hates Vader because Vader is his replacement. You know, Vader is who he should have been, and then Devin lost her master through Vader. I think that would have, you know, just been enough. But instead, then we have that just small moment, but such an impactful moment, like Ari was saying. Is this going to be dragged out the next season, where he force pushes Daki into Vader, and it just, when I was feeling that momentum where Daki was like this is how we can take Vader down together, and I was like,
and it was working as well.
This is going great. We're working. You saw Daki by himself was able to land some hits on Vader, and it's like, Vader was just one arming this, like he was just one-handing fighting them. But it's not even, I wouldn't even consider this like prime Vader yet, because I feel like Vader's just adjusting to his
He's getting used to his robot legs
and his fighting style and everything. So I definitely saw kind of Anakin's style in his fighting in a lot of these scenes where I'm like, oh my god, that was just like Anakin would have done from Clone Wars. But anyway, so that small Maul moment just really like, and the only reason I'm wearing the shirt is because it was on sale. I mean, I want to do this for the after show for Shadow Lord, but after what he did, I was like, I don't want to wear anything Maul. I'm like so anti-Maul right now. So I just feel like I'm conflicted because I felt like the show was pushing us, but I think maybe that's part of the genius writing, right? Like it shows us the type of character that Maul is. It's like he is hungry and he is thirsty and he's going to get to the side that he wants, no matter what means. He's going to do everything that he can to get the outcome he wants. So, I mean, yeah, it was manipulation all along. But then with this instance where it's like, yeah, you abandoning Daki there and causing his death, really, I mean, it kind of almost is a way out for Devin, where it's like, I feel like Devin's going to commit to Maul's teachings and using the dark side, kind of how Ezra did in Rebels. But I think Devin's going to go a little bit further. But I feel like the way out of her fellowship under Maul or apprenticeship is going to be her finding out that it was, Maul. Maybe it's a fight with Vader, that Devin is fighting Vader and Vader reveals like, oh, Maul abandoned your master. He's the one that pushed him towards me. I don't know, that it's kind of almost a way out for Devin as well.
I kind of wish that wasn't the way out for her.
No, 100%.
I wish the way out was like, Maul, holy crap, I've just realized you're a terrible person. I cannot be around you.
Yeah.
The way out can be, oh no, you did that to me.
I agree.
That's assuming they even do that. They don't have to
for sure.
But if they don't do that, I'd be annoyed. Like if this is never addressed, that like this is how Devin ended up turning to the dark side.
Well, why would it be annoying? Maul's not a good guy.
Maul sort of could have sympathized with Devin, being like, Vader is like, the hand of Sidious, and Sidious did this to me when he ripped me away from my brother. Like, we're both traumatized from this. But it's like, no, you can't say that because you were a part of it. Like, I don't know.
But that's the thing.
I can see both sides of this. I like it on one hand and I don't like it on the other.
Absolutely.
No, but I just think from a storytelling standpoint, it's going to make things a little frustrating in season 2 when we're like, Devin, like if we could just speak to her and be like, hey, like Maul pushed Daki into Vader, she'd be like, okay, I'm done. Whereas if that didn't happen, you could just like, she would be like, no, I'm justified in this. This is fair enough. Like there would be no talking her out of it, but there is talking her out of it now because of this.
I don't even know though, because like there's talking her out of an alliance with Maul. That is true. But again, the dark side, once you begin down that dark path, forever will dominate your destiny. There's a good chance that however far down the road, if she ever learns the truth, it doesn't change. It'll turn her against Maul, which honestly, I hope happens. Like I'm very firmly in that camp that like wherever, I think this show ends with that relationship ending. I think we're seeing the beginning of a master-apprentice relationship that's going to go through however many seasons they want to do of this show. But I think no matter what, you have to end it with her betraying him, which somehow leads to him on Malachor maybe or something. It depends on how far through this we go. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that she'll change her convictions of the dark side. Maybe now she was already kind of, butting up against the Jedi way from the very first episode with the whole like fruit arrest thing. Or getting arrested for stealing the fruit. Yeah, no, I absolutely see what you guys are talking about, but I don't know. I just think that is too juicy of a bomb to sit on for however long they want to drag this out, because I just think it makes their dynamic much more interesting to just have like to put it this way. Maul, what's great about Maul is just that he's a character of contradictions, just like we in the real world are. We're all full of contradictions. And what has been interesting throughout this show is how often he's been like, and it's the same with Ahsoka. Unlike Sidious, he's been like, I'm not going to force you to do this. Join me. Even though he's being very heavy-handed about it, being like, I'm going to lock you in a chamber and you're going to have to figure a way out. I'm going to create a whole, puzzle room for you to figure out, an escape room for you to figure out. And then you'll see the dark side. So he's been very heavy-handed about it, but he's always been, I'm not going to force him this. here's your choice. I think what is awesome, what is, again, the turn of great writing here at the end is that ultimately, again, being a man of contradictions, he inevitably does the thing Sidious does, manipulates her into embracing it. And I just think, again, you talk about this character never learning, you talk about this character just being a victim of this cycle of abuse and, kind of recreating on other people. I think that is a critical part of this, that he inevitably does it in another person.
Yeah.
Despite however he tried to do it before.
I get that. And I think that's why I'm really in two minds about this. Part of me loves it. Part of me hates it. But you talked about this makes the dynamic more interesting. I disagree. I think it would be more interesting if this didn't happen and Devon just genuinely was relating to Maul without Maul manipulating that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and we could get, I think we will get there. Like, there's so much more to this, I think, where to explore that relationship and how it's going to work. We have such a short look at it now. Maybe the way they've been writing it, I think there's a way of looking at it where what she's saying, like, that Devon has been conflicted in the way of, like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I know what I really believe in. And this could be that moment where she is going to admit that. But that's maybe that's something we pull at more in future seasons.